Hi everyone, welcome back, or welcome if you're joining us for the first time. I'm Phaedra and we have a flower farm in Australia, but recently we went on a trip to Mexico because my husband's Mexican. We were visiting family over there and I wanted to talk a little bit about how we prepared to leave. We've been flower farming for 4 years. It was the end of our 4th season when we left on our trip, and we had to prepare things months in advance to be able to do this. We had identified that straight after Mother's Day was probably the best time to go because sales drop off. Almost every woman has flowers at this point. And just from our sales histories, there was a 1 or 2 week period where there was sort of minimal to no sales. So we thought, let's leave straight after Mother's Day, which in theory sounded like a great idea, but in practice, like in real life, it was absolutely horrible. I have never been so stressed. Well, I can't remember a time I've been so stressed, just not only with all of the work that Mother's Day takes, you know, I'm just sort of offline for 2 weeks leading up to Mother's Day, especially those first few days, and I always get sick straight after Mother's Day, which did happen. I got pretty sick straight after Mother's Day, and I was like, okay, I can probably be a little bit better. I won't be in the worst of this while I'm on the plane, but I was still unwell on the plane. My body just gets to the point where it has had enough and it forces me to stop. So on top of all that, we had to get lots of other things done. We obviously had to get the field in a place where it was ready. The main task being we needed to get the cool flowers in, which we did achieve. Planting out ranunculus, corms. We got the next succession of veggies in, which is really good. We did not get the chrysanthemums cut back and propagated, but it's something we can do over winter now. We also did not trim the stems on all the dahlias. We just ran out of time for it, which really does suck because some of those tubers, now I've dug them up, you'll see that next week, have rotted because the water pooled in the stems. So that's not great, but it's still fixable. I've got so many dahlia tubers, it's fine if I lose some. In reality, I don't know how I would have done it. So I probably can't be too upset with myself about that. You know, it gets to the point where it is what it is. You can only do what you can do. I also cleaned out the hothouse to get it ready. There were plants that needed to go in there to be protected while we're away. It was just a lot of cleanup, a lot of prepping things, moving pots. I had to move pots because our neighbour was looking after the place while we're away, and I didn't want it to be too hard for him. As it is, we didn't have irrigation in, and he was hand watering. So I didn't want him to then have to move to all these different locations around the farm to actually put water on pots. So I moved them. We moved as much as we could into the hothouse so everything was in one place for him. And we had kind of anticipated that it would rain, but it didn't. It did not rain while we were away until like a couple of days before we got back. So he was watering that whole time. You just can never really pick it. We also had a couple of building projects we had to get done before we left, and we had to tidy up the actual business as well because we didn't put someone in charge of it while we were gone. We just kind of closed it down. So there was just hours and hours and hours of tasks every day in that probably 6 weeks leading up to us going. It was absolute chaos. I think realistically that's probably just how it's going to be when we try to go away. Even though financially it's best to leave straight after Mother's Day, logistically that was a horrible idea. I mean, we got on this holiday, and once we get to the airport, I consider once you get to the airport, you're on holidays. And we all like airports, so it kind of feels okay. But you get to the airport and you just think to yourself, oh my gosh, I was so stressed, it's a wonder I didn't die. And you just think, is this what it's like to not be stressed? Like, especially when we got to Cancun and we're enjoying this amazing, like, tropical paradise. I felt like I was in a daze. I am walking around this resort just thinking, am I really here? Like, is this really happening right now? I'm in the Caribbean, in a resort, and I don't have to do anything. I don't even have to prepare food. There's nothing I have to do. No cleaning, no cooking. I don't have to drive anywhere. Nobody can contact me. They could contact me online, but I did have a SIM card over there, but I had really bad reception. Like, parts of that resort, it just must be down on that peninsula. There's just not a lot of internet, I don't think. You don't really want your phone down at the pool. Like, you don't want it to get stolen. People were leaving their phones all over the place. I just don't think it's a place where people steal things, but it could. But you don't really want to have to take your phone with you everywhere. And you don't really want to have to carry a bag. You sort of just want to walk out the door with your key card and your towel. Not key card, like the card to get back into your room, and your towel. Because you don't have to pay for anything. Everything's included. All the food, and there was this amazing food. But then I got sick. And Malia started. She got the, what do they call it? Montezuma's curse or whatever it is. It's the runs, basically. So you kind of can't venture too far from a toilet. You feel sick. I didn't feel too nauseous, but my stomach was very unsettled. And you just feel unwell. And it is so hot. There's nothing worse than feeling like that and then being in the heat. So Malia spent the first 2 days in the motel room, and I spent the last 2 days in the motel room. And there was just all this nice food, and I just kind of was sitting at restaurants and sitting places looking at it because I couldn't eat it at that point. So that was good. And being sick wasn't good. Being at the resort was really good. I learned a few things. I am not a hot climate person at all. I could never imagine myself living in a place with that climate. But to go there for a relaxing break was amazing. It felt surreal, in all honesty, to be there. And we just saw so many things. And I'm so happy to have opened the kids' minds up. Like, you travel to other places and it expands the way you think about things and the way you see the world, and it kind of enhances you as a human a little bit. So I'm really, really happy we got to do that. We spent so much time with family, which was really nice. It was just really, really amazing. So then we go back and we're back in Adlixco, and the volcano is causing trouble. And I couldn't breathe because the ash was in the air. And I remember that night, I felt really worried about it. I couldn't breathe properly. I just kept coughing. I was really worried. I'm thinking, and I didn't want to tell anyone, but I'm thinking I might have to go to the hospital because I'm starting to really not be able to breathe properly. And I kept saying, it feels like there's, what did I say? I said, I feel like there's dust in the air, but none of us clicked that the volcano had not erupted, but it lets out ash. Anyway, back in Adlixco, it's really good. We're seeing lots of things, all the plants I wish I could take home with me. I really, 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 really love Mexico City. It is, to me, just so fun. Like, it's such a nice city. It's nice and clean. The buildings are so beautiful. And same in in Puebla. It's got a very French influence. And the Starbucks there, cool story. The Starbucks in Puebla, it's like right sort of in the center. It's a building that was built by the same company that built the Eiffel Tower. And there's a plaque on the side of it that, says who built it. And it's the same builder. And it's gorgeous, like, it's beautiful. But when I walked in, I saw this massive tapestry on the wall. And it was the same tapestry that was in the photo of that Moroni had on his dating profile. Like, he was sitting in front of it. And as soon as I walked in, I was like, oh, that's from that photo from your dating profile, because we met online. So we went and got a photo in front of it. So that was really cool. Just little things like that, little things that are connecting, Moroni's story up and parts of our story. And it was just really nice. The food was really good, but because I had that really tender stomach, I couldn't do any chili at all. I had to eat really plain, which I do eat plain anyway. But I had kind of been looking forward to eating, because I can eat a lot of the food in Mexico because a lot of it's corn-based. I can't eat like the pastries and the cakes and things, but, the main dishes and things, majority of it's gluten-free just by default. Even Moroni said he can't handle the chili there anymore, so that was a little bit funny. So we spent a really good time in Mexico City. The interesting thing about Mexico City is the city is actually sinking, and they're trying to reinforce certain areas to try to build it back up. So this site, this old, I think it was an old cathedral that I think the Spaniards tore down. This is the old site of it. It is now the level. That's how far it's sinking, and the rest has been raised up. And this is a underground subway. And the reason it's so quiet is the wheels are plastic, so they don't make these huge noises, you know, through the city and stuff. And so I was listening to it through the vents. So I found that really interesting. Just really cool little things like that, especially that you learn when you're there with family and locals and people that you know. You learn all these really cool things about the place. But yes, it was an absolute marathon to make it to Mexico. Not only leading up to it, but then when we had to get there. It was 3 flights to get there, almost, I can't even remember how many hours. I think over 30 hours of travel by the time we actually arrived. And that's pretty hard with kids. We got jet lag going over, and normally I would not get jet lag going in that direction. And then when we got back, we got jet lag again. And that's one of the reasons why I've not been consistent since getting back from Mexico. So we had... I've been way out of whack, and I've found it a little bit hard to get back into the routine of things, but I'm feeling a bit better now. Things should be more consistent on the channel now, and I hope you'll join me. We're back on the farm and we're getting back into things ready next week. Next video, I'm going to show you us talking to a florist in Mexico just to see how things are done over there. And it's actually quite amazing how fast they do things and how much access they have to fresh flowers. It's amazing. See you then.